Instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. Mary Oliver is just this wonderful American poet. And what she talks about a lot is how you are making these choices, and we can really use our minds and how we focus our attention to determine how we're interacting with the whole world, and in particular nature. So that's going to be a real theme of this going forward. The first thing to know is, why should you do nature? And one of the most basic reasons is nature is good for you. Did you know that exposing yourself to nature boosts your immune system, lowers your blood pressure, reduces the production of stress hormones? It increases your level of physical activity, and even better, when you're doing physical activity outside, it's perceived as less stressful, less work, and more fun. And it even helps individuals cope with pain. I love the research about this, where they would just literally, they would take a cart of plants and roll them into a patient's room in hospital that was on pain, and that patient would suddenly need less pain medication. What an amazing and powerful effect that plants and nature have. Nature's benefits are also included in the mental health category. So if you think about it, just like looking out the window, a view of nature, if your window faces nature versus like it faces a brick wall or anything, can actually improve your mood if your window view faces nature. Nature reduces feelings of stress or anger, increases our ability to focus, reduces symptoms of ADHD, increases both creativity, collaboration, and connection. And I have a quick video that summarizes this research, but it's also, to me, the video itself I find very calming just to watch this video. So I'll share it with you now.
The average American child can now recognize greater than 1,000 corporate logos, but fewer than 10 plants native to their region. But why does that matter? Let's look at the benefits of nature. Spending time outdoors can lessen the symptoms of ADHD, increase creativity, increase spiritual health, decrease feelings of stress, anxiety, and anger, increase attention span and memory, greatly reduce the chances of anxiety disorders and depression, boost the immune system, and significantly improve academics. Samuel Johnson wisely stated, "Deviation from nature is deviation from happiness."
I just watching that mountainside just makes me feel better. Makes me want to take a deep, cool, cleansing breath to see that beautiful mountainside. All right. So let's talk. So now we talked a little bit about why you would want to do nature. And of course, the screen brain phenomenon. How many of you are just like, I'm on my computer all the time. I can't focus on anything. And that's another great reason to just take a break. Just the act of shifting your eyes and looking out at a tree. Try it right now. Look out a window right now. And just take a few seconds and get away from your computer and into nature. So we are going to go to the virtual ways to expose you and your children to nature through virtual means, and we'll follow that up with some live examples. But let's talk about virtual nature. So I am a huge fan of live cameras. I don't know about this, if you know about these, but there are live cameras all around the globe right now that are recording natural phenomena that you can access right now from your personal device. And so I've just put some examples up here, but really, like, just think of any animal or natural phenomena that you're interested. If you're interested in the rainforest, you can find a rainforest cam. If you're interested in dolphins, you can find a dolphin cam. So these are some real cams. These are live links. I'm going to pick Monterey Bay Aquarium, which has these amazing live cams. Let me show you what I mean. Let me come over here to Monterey Bay Aquarium. So here is Monterey Bay. Monterey Bay, of course, is in California, and they have set up all these live cams. And the cameras themselves are live from 7 in the morning to 7 at night, and then they just run video loops when they're not on. So right now, when you go there, you can see all these different cameras, and you can go and check out like a literal live cam. And so my kids' favorite is the shark cam. I don't know. I think I might have to unscreen share. Is this still showing, or do I need to unscreen share?
You can see it.
You can still see it? Okay, shark. So this is what's happening in the shark tank at Monterey Bay Aquarium right now at this very minute. Sorry. So I also wanted to, I'm also going to share with you another one that I just think is a great site if you want to see a real variety of cameras, and that's the one that's called explore.org. And so I'm also going to screen share this one, and this is more like a master site where you can see all kinds of different live cams. So if I were to just pick one, this might be the one that I picked. You can see they have all kinds of different kinds of live cams that, and you can pick, and it just goes on and on and on and on. So there's all kinds of live cams, and I find it a great way to share nature with kids if you need to be on virtual. Another way that you might want to consider using virtual tools is with apps. So I don't know if you know much about this. This is something that I have been doing a lot of research about lately, and that is nature apps. The first time I encountered was one of these was we were on like a night field trip to see the stars, and a parent pulls out their phone and like snaps a constellation, and their phone tells them what constellation it is. That app is Sky Search. You may have seen that one before. They actually have those kind of apps for all kinds of things. So like this one does animal tracks, that you can just put a picture of an animal track and it'll tell you what animal track it is or what bird it is. This one tells you what, these two are both like plants and trees. So you can literally like take a picture of a leaf or a plant. It'll be like, that is a northern, well, you know, so it can just identify things for you, which is so fun. This section are guides. Like if you're somewhere new and you say, boy, I'd love to go to a park or go to a trail, but I don't know this area, you can just go to this O Ranger Park Finder. It has like 100,000 parks and trails on there, and you can plug in your address and it'll say 0.5 miles, go to this park. And so these are all great. Just Ahead is a similar one for natural parks. This is an app that'll help you plan your garden, tell you like, and again, they use like GPS data to tell you your growing zone and suggestions for what you should plant that day in that growing zone. There are nature sound apps like animal sounds or nature music. These are some great apps for kids. This is an app that lets kids plan a virtual garden. This one does a virtual recycling center. This app runs kids through the seasons and allows kids to make choices. Similarly, Nature Tap and HippoTrix, these are both games, and all of these apps are listed on your resource page. So those are some great suggestions for using virtual tools to connect with nature. So the rest of our presentation really talks about in-person nature, and I'm going to start by, let me do this little slide here. So I've broken this down into 3 categories. The first is from your workspace. I don't know about you, but I've been moved from spending about 30 minutes a day online to spending like 6, 8, sometimes 10 hours a day online. And just that idea of how you can create a workspace that incorporates nature and can make your physical existence at your workspace an even richer experience. Then we're going to go close to home, ideas to maximize time in your nature that would require you to step away from your desk, but not to go too far at all, in your yard or just down the block. And then also the final section is on destinations. So you might need to make a little car trip for those, or a little bike trip. So the first part I'm going to talk about is at your workspace. And so I'm going to stop sharing here a minute and do a little show and tell for my workspace here. So here at my workspace right now, I have my jar of seashells here at my workspace. And I have I have my basket of stones here. I have some different stones in my basket. And I have some little jars that have scents that refresh me. So this one is actually vanilla. I just took a little, literally like just poured a little vanilla in here. And then this one is one of my favorite smells in the whole world. And this is the creosote plant. Do you know about that creosote plant that smells so amazing when it rains? And so I just have a little creosote leaves in here. Sometimes I just need to feel like it's raining, even though I'm by my computer. So that's it. I brought one more show and tell, and that is, I took some carrots. They're not baby carrots, but they were store-bought carrots, and I took the top off them, and I put the tops in water. This was about 3 weeks ago. And look what happens to the top of the carrot if you put your carrot in water. How about that? And then I'm going to just slide my computer over here. No, I'm better yet. So I have a whole, well, you can probably see over here that I have a whole garden growing system over here. So I'm growing seedlings. So let me just show you real quick. It's not actually at my desk, but I can reach over and see my tomatoes and my chilies all coming up over there. So that's my show and tell. So just thinking through, like, what does your desk look like? What do you have at your desk? What could you do to make your desk like this amazing place to just be and work? So here's some tips for naturizing your desk space. I'll just leave that up for you to peruse. Another thing that you can do right at your desk is get in touch with your breath. So we're going to do this right now, everybody. So scoot to the front of your chair and put your feet flat on the ground. And I don't know if you can see that the visual in the middle, it says repeat 20 times. We're not going to do that. So we're going to do some rock and roll breathing. So inhale, lean backwards and expand your belly. Now exhale. Squeeze your breath out and curl forward while leaning forward. All right, let's do it again. You ready? One more time. Just a simple act of getting in touch with your own breath and your own mammalian self can be a wonderful way to connect yourself to nature. All right, so let's move out from our desk a minute. But before we do, a word about pets. I don't know about you, but I find so many people for whom pets have been so crucial during this pandemic time, that pets really, they calm you, they soothe you. Okay. And I feel like pets are just remind us that we're mammals, right? That we really need to touch other creatures in the animal kingdom and in our natural world, and they're so great. And I just want to say that if you don't have pets, or if you have kids that you think that would really benefit from pets, that most of the animal shelters welcome volunteers to come, even for just like 30 minutes a week, to come and help walk the dogs or pet the cats or whatever that. So that's always an option. The NMSU farm and other farms are always open for you to just go and, pet a horse or whatever you need to do. This is something that I feel like is a really important connection point for all of us. Okay, we're going to move out from our pets and move out to the closer to home section, how to maximize your enjoyment of nature closer to home. So one of the easiest way to do this is in your kitchen. So just think of all the ways that you are connected to nature through the food that you take in. And this is a kind of a Mary Oliver moment when you are holding that avocado, or you're holding that apple, and just really thinking through the tree that grew it, or the plant that grew it, and the soil that nourished it, and the people that planted it and tended it and picked it, and how connected you are, and even opening it and being aware of the smell and the texture, and of course the taste, and that experience. I hope you're having that experience of preparing food with people you love, and enjoying food with people you love, and enjoying that as a natural nature experience as much as you can. The farmers markets are open during the pandemic, and I personally am finding great pleasure in being connected with the people who actually grow my food. So that's another way to connect. Wildlife in your yard. I'm willing to bet, even for every single one of you, even if you live in an apartment with an asphalt parking lot, that you can find nature in your yard if you just take a step outside, whether that be a bird in the tree that you can hear when you first wake up in the morning. Well, try it tomorrow morning when you first wake up, and before you open your eyes, listen and see if you can hear a bird in the morning. Walk out and see if you can see an ant or a lizard or a spider. I just think all of us are exposed to more wildlife than we recognize. I really believe that. And if we take the time, that we can start seeing those and hearing them. Birds are easier to hear than see. Wild plants in your yard. Now this is kind of pushing it, but I'm going to put it out there because I know a lot of you are teachers, and I bet you've had this experience where you are with kids and you're outside, and a kid comes up and with all their heart hands you what they think is the most beautiful flower ever, and it's probably a weed growing in your yard, your schoolyard, or maybe your kids are doing this, and it's technically a weed, but to them it's beautiful. And why not say, what a beautiful flower, like look at that, I mean, they're beautiful, dandelions are beautiful. And so just to acknowledge and just appreciate that. And I think the kids help us to do this, to really appreciate the weeds in our yard. There's all kinds of trees and plants everywhere. One of the amazing things about how, if you just look around, although we live in a desert, if you live anywhere where people go, people plant trees, and people eat food that has seed, that grow trees. So there's trees, bushes everywhere. And so one of the greatest ways you can connect kids and yourselves with nature is to adopt a particular tree or bush. And I'm going to show you about mine. So there are 2 trees that are planted right next to each other in the park, which is next door to my house. And I'm so curious about these trees. I took pictures of them in the fall. And here again, I took this picture 2 days ago. And you'll see that they're the exact same tree. They were planted the exact same day, they have the exact same trunk thickness, but they develop differently. So like right now, this tree, it already bloomed and it's gone on to leaves. And you'll see that this tree in the fall, like it had all green leaves, when the other one, all its leaves were red and brown and were already blowing away. And I'm so interested in these trees. And I think that if you can get kids to pay attention to a particular tree, it can be amazing. Like if you can have your kids name trees and adopt trees or a bush or a plant or whatever it is, and find real connection with a specific being. I think it's great. It's great to connect to nature, but for kids especially, it's much easier to connect with a specific being, a specific plant, a specific tree. So that's another way you can do that. Observing the night sky. This is so easy, and yet how often do we forget to do this, to just go out and see the moon or see the stars? And it's so cleansing to me and so perspective giving when we do this and take the time to do this. And what a great training for ourselves and for our children and our students, to train them to do this. Kids are great at being in nature, but they love to actually be in hands-on nature. So I have this slide I'll just leave up there for a few minutes for you to peruse some ideas for nature play accessories. And I'm just gonna highlight the camera. I think teaching kids to be photographers is one of the most amazing ways that you can really train kids to get nature. I think that so many times, like, I think we're all naturally collectors, you know. Of course, I'm naturally a collector, you can tell that, but there's some places where you can't be a collector, whether it's a national park or national lands, or even, even the schoolyard, you're not really supposed to be a collector. There are places, but you can, in a way, being a photographer is being a collector of memories. And I just encourage that as a really strong way to connect kids and adults with nature. So we're going to finish up after we talk. I'll just take a second to acknowledge the immense pleasure of backyard camping, to go to gardening. So I'm just going to go, I just have like 4 slides about gardening, and I just have this, I'm just going to have this prelude to it. Now, I'm sure that there are some people here who are like amazing gardeners, and you're going to be like, these slides stink. So I apologize for you. But my experience is that a lot of times people say, oh, kids and gardening, it's such a natural fit. Like, this is going to be great. Kids and gardening. And I found it's not that simple. Like that kids that gardening, like kids want to kids are interested in plants, most kids, but a lot of times it's hard to be successful at gardening, because like even that little bean experiment, you all know the bean, you take the bean and you put it in the wet towel and you put it on the window and then it grows. And a lot of times, but some kids' bean doesn't grow. And then if you actually try to put the bean in the cup, then beans don't like to be transplanted. So then it will never actually be a bean plant. So anyway, so what I've tried to do in these 4 slides is to give you some guaranteed gardening winners. These tips will work. And again, my apologies to advanced gardeners. These are more for like people that are beginning gardeners or want to have some really successful tips for kids or your own kids. So I'll run through these fairly quickly, but so the first tip is the 3 Ps: pots, pansies, and petunias. If you just want to have like pretty pots with flowers, this is all you need. Pansies grow in the winter. They like cold. Petunias grow in the summer. They like hot. So get yourself a pot. Like right now, it's coming on summer. So go get yourself some pansies, put them in your pot, and they'll be happy. Water those things. They'll be happy now until like November. And then they're going to start feeling like, oh, I don't like it. It's too cold. So then, and they're going to die. And that's fine. It's like a circle of life. It's fine. So then you go buy yourself some pansies and put them in your pot, and your pansies will be fine from November until about now. And so there you have it. You have beautiful pots year round with the 3 Ps. And if you're like, I can't remember that, they will only sell you the things that will live. So go to the store and buy them. There you go. If you're more adventurous and you're ready to actually grow flowers from seeds, I try to make this simple. I'm trying to be all tricky. I don't know if it works. Simple, easy. Sunflowers, marigolds, and zinnias. These are 3 guaranteed. You plant them and you water them, they will grow and they'll do great. And so the key is honestly just the watering. So if you water those guys, they will grow. 100%ers. If you're ready to move on to veggies, there's these veggies, you just need to buy them at the nursery, unless you have a whole seed starting setup. It's much easier to just get these at the farmer's market or the nursery, like your tomatoes, your chilies, your eggplants, your mint, your basil, your chives. They'll grow great, but don't try to start them from seed, because it just takes forever and it won't work very well. These, on the other hand, you can plant for seeds. Now, let me give you this tip about radishes. Now, this plant right here is radish. So if you have kids and you want your kids to experience the entire cycle, like you plant a seed, you see it grow, you eat it, your radish is the way to go. And that's because you can eat radishes like 2 to 3 weeks after you plant them. They grow so fast. They're so amazing. Like, they're the ultimate plant for kids that can't wait for a plant to grow. Because if you think about it, when you garden, a lot of times, and this is hard for us, like if we plant things, if we're teachers and we plant things, say now, then a lot of times they won't be ready until June or July, and then our kids aren't there. Now, radishes, you plant them today, 2 weeks from now, you can eat radishes. And this is my tip for radishes: bake your radishes to make them milder, because they're so like they have a hard taste. And so that's just a tip. Radishes. So I put it out there. Some other plants that are guaranteed winners. This is cilantro, grows so easy. Swiss chard, lettuce grows really easy as long as it's fairly cool out. And then finally, let me talk about this garlic. Now, how many of you have you bought garlic from the store and you didn't eat it fast enough and it starts getting that little green sprouts coming out of the top? You can plant that guy. Get yourself a pot, dig a hole with your finger deep, put it in there. That's a cool weather crop. So from like November through February, plant it in that time and then just leave it in there, water it. 3 months later, you can pull, each clove will turn into a whole bulb. It's super easy and it's super 100%. So those are some gardening tips for kids. And then finally, we know that our pollinators, our bees, our butterflies are really needing our help. So anytime you garden, you're helping the whole cosmos. So I'm going to finish up with just talking real quick about destinations. One of the easiest destinations, honestly, is just city parks. They're amazing. They may not be Tuscany, they may not be the Gila, but they're so amazing. And I have a quick video about city parks that I found to be just really reaffirming. So I'm just going to play this last video before we finish up.
When you think of a city, you probably think of tall buildings and bustling cars and just miles of asphalt. And yet, if you visit any city in the US, you will encounter places that are kind of like this. Parks. Right now I'm in Pottery Canyon Natural Park, which is right next to a pretty busy road out here in San Diego. It's small, but very beautiful. Anyway, I was thinking about this the other day because parks are scattered throughout all of these cities and large swaths of the United States are put aside as parkland. But from a financial standpoint, parks don't really make sense. I mean, you look at some place like Central Park in New York or even this little park in San Diego, and it seems obvious that the city could make some good money if they developed it and sold it as a plot. I mean, this park's just taking up useful space, right?
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Nobody wants that. People value these spots. A lot of people think of parks as like a respite from city life. It clears the head and keeps us grounded. And in fact, I would guess that a vast majority of folks want even more parks. Even my extremely scientific Twitter poll showed that most people want more parks. Forget about that 2%. Anyway, I went on a trip with Allie and my dad to the desert recently. And while we were there, my dad asked me, "What do you like about the desert?" And I thought that was a good question, because it's not particularly hospitable. The sun is just blazing hot during the day and it gets ice cold at night, especially if it's windy. And there's not a drop of water around, so you really got to be careful. But I just absolutely love it. On a clear day, you can see hundreds of miles. The plants and critters are all just so unique. But what I think I love most is how quiet it gets out there.
Taking that moment for quiet. Sometimes we need that moment of quiet. I think that moment of quiet is part of unscreen braining ourselves as well. I just wanted to say that, of course, you can go to your city parks. You can also do day trips. You can do longer trips. But I feel like nature really is a refreshing, amazing way to recenter ourselves, to reinvigorate ourselves and the students and children we work with.